Bre-X Minerals was a mining company based in Calgary, founded in 1989. The company was involved in a scandal where they claimed to be sitting on an enormous gold deposit in Indonesia. The company bought the property called Busang in 1993 and announced a gold discovery in 95. The company's stock first started as penny stocks, eventually peaking at 286 Canadian. In 1996, the total market capitalization was worth over $6 billion, with the reign ending in 97 after the gold samples were discovered to have been fake due to tampering. This case became one of the biggest mining scandals in Canadian history. The founder of Bre-X, David Walsh, followed the advice of a geologist, John Falderhoff, and purchased the property in Indonesia. The initial estimate of the property was provided by a Filipino geologist, Michael de Guzman, at approximately 2 million troy ounces. This estimate increased the value of the property and company until it was revealed as fraudulent after the sudden suicide of the Filipino geologist and investigations of the site. Freeport was not informed regarding the true gold in Indonesia by Bre-X Mining. Freeport discovered the falsified reports when doing their own mining. Freeport requested to speak with the geologist who reported the results. The geologist Guzman, on his way to Freeport, supposedly fell out of his helicopter and died. The case deals with misrepresentation of information to the public and the actions to be made by Freeport upon discovering this. Section 72.2c, failure to act or report a situation that may endanger the welfare to the public. If Freeport doesn't act, they are allowing harm to the public who may be interested in buying company shares. Section 72.2j, conduct an act that would be regarded as dishonorable, disgraceful, or unprofessional. Freeport does not want to be involved in misrepresentation of information to the public and investors. Section 72.2a, negligence. If Freeport ignores the issues, then they will allow the spreading of untruthful information. Section 77.1.1, fairness and loyalty to the practitioner's associates. Withholding information about the amount of gold is unfair to the clients, partners, and public interested in shares. Freeport should also give Guzman a chance to right his wrongdoing before they take the information public. Section 77.1.3, devotion to high ideals of personal honor and professional integrity. Freeport would not want to be untruthful to the public and to the investors. Section 77.2.I, regard the petitioner's duty to public welfare as paramount. If Freeport does not ensure that untruthful information is shared with the public is harmed by buying shares. So what do we do now? We can do nothing, but we will be violating Section 72.2c by failing to report the situation. We can give geologist Dr. Guzman and Bre-X the option to right their mistake. This deals with Section 77.1.1 as it gives Guzman a chance to fix his mistake where he can take appropriate measures like coming clean to the public or pleading guilty. We could also whistleblow. Freeport as a company could potentially inform a professional engineering organization of the wrongdoings of Guzman since there is concrete evidence against him supported by facts. Since the incident takes place over different countries, informing just the PEO might not be enough. Giving Guzman the option to come forward with the information gives him a fair opportunity to address his mistakes, but he may not want to disclose information to the general public. In this case, we would warn him that we have a duty as engineers and have to share the information with his employers. If no steps are taken at this point, we would have to go to a professional engineering organization with the information ourselves, resulting in a legal discussion and effectively going public with the information. Freeport would lose the partnership with Bre-X and would likely start a lawsuit involving misrepresentation in contract law. This case deals with contract law. In this case, the contract is between Bre-X and its investors because purchasing securities, for example, shares of a company, is considered a contract. The defendants are Bre-X and its directors. The plaintiffs are the investors of the company. The 5 elements of a contract were met between Bre-X and the investors because 1. Bre-X made an offer by selling shares and investors accepted by purchasing them. 2. Selling and buying shares is an act of mutual intent. 3. Considerations were exchanged in form of shares. 4. When selling and buying shares, competency is required. 5. It is perfectly lawful to sell shares. Bre-X breached this contract with their investors due to fraudulent misrepresentation. The precedent case for fraudulent misrepresentation, Dairy v. Peak, 1889, established a 3-part test to prove it. Part 3 of the test says that a statement is fraudulent if the defendant is reckless as to the statement's truth. This part of the test was met because when Bre-X announced their estimates of huge gold deposits, they didn't know about the 20 red flags of their site, later identified by an independent investigation. These red flags would have warned them that the estimates had been falsified. Therefore, announcing the estimates before fully investigating the site and finding the red flags was reckless with the truth. The conditions for misrepresentation have been met because 1. Bre-X falsely stated their site contained millions of ounces of gold. 2. Under the test in Dairy v. Peak, Bre-X was reckless with the truth. 3. Bre-X intentionally released their estimates to drive investment, despite the estimates being recklessly obtained. 4. People and organizations invested heavily in Bre-X based on these estimates. 5. The investors collectively lost billions of dollars after it was discovered the site had no gold. Since the 5 elements of a contract were met, the third condition of a fraudulent misrepresentation test was met, and the 5 conditions of misrepresentation were met, it is likely that the defendants, Bre-X and its directors, would be found guilty in court. Under the Securities Act of Ontario, Bre-X and its directors would be liable for damages to their investors. This is because they recklessly claimed that they owned massive gold deposits at Busang, which was a fraudulently misrepresented claim. There are no restrictions on liability for this. Because this action was a breach of contract, damages would include monetarily compensating the investors with the amount based on the value of the investors' shares had the contract been completed. This concludes our ethical and legal analysis of Bre-X Mining's fraud case. Thanks for watching.